this is a really fascinating story. We always hear that the reason why middle-class people, poor people don't want to tax the rich is because presumably they think they're going to be rich. And they don't want to have the taxes on them in the future. And apparently there's been a study that shows that this is not necessarily the case. It's not necessarily a function. This is from the National Bureau of Economic Research. And there are differences towards redistributive taxes, not just between countries, but within countries. Countries that are more ethnically or racially homogeneous are more comfortable with the state seeking to mitigate inequality by transferring some resources from richer to poorer people through the fiscal system. In other words, countries where everybody looks like you are more open to the idea of a more progressive tax system that takes more money from the rich and redistributes it down. Now, Tim Weiss, and we've talked about this, has a theory about welfare really becoming a boogeyman when black people had more access to it and more rights in this country. And this study would seem to suggest that that's accurate. And certainly, what we've been talking about with the Tea Party, that's certainly the issue. And certainly if you listen to Rush Limbaugh, and what's that welfare queen coming out of the Cadillac? Social divisions also play a role in determining who within society prefers greater redistributive taxation. In America, black people, who are much more likely to benefit from welfare programs than richer whites, are much more favorably disposed to redistribution through the fiscal system than white people are. 47% of blacks thought welfare spending was too low. Only 16% of whites did. Only a quarter of blacks thought it was too high, compared with 55% of whites. A new paper finds evidence for a more intriguing and provocative hypothesis. Rather than the typical one. Its authors note that those near but not at the bottom of the income distribution are often deeply ambivalent about greater redistribution. In other words, if you are second from the bottom on the totem pole, you want to protect your position as not being at the bottom. They find that, when you study to see if you are making minimum wage, you are for it. If you are making far above the minimum wage, you are for it as well in terms of raising the minimum wage. But if you're making just above the minimum wage, statistically, you're more likely to not want minimum wage raised because you want to feel like there are people who are doing worse than you. So economists have usually explained poor people's counterintuitive to disdain for something that might make them better off by invoking income mobility. In other words, Joe the plumber might not be making enough to be affected by tax hikes for people making more than $250 a year, but he hopes someday to be one of them. But this is not the case. Instead of opposing redistribution because people expect to make it to the top of the economic ladder, the authors of this paper argue that people don't like to be at the bottom. Some poor people may be vociferously opposed to the kinds of policies that would actually raise their own income a bit, but that might also push those who are poorer than them into comparable or higher positions. When I hear something like this, I always think of that Todd Solondz movie. What was his? Welcome to the Dollhouse, where the girl goes to school and gets picked on by the bully, and then she comes home and she bullies her younger sister. You know, it's the kick the dog strategy. As long as you have somebody below you, you're okay. Just a fascinating study. Fascinating study. And something I think that hopefully some political strategist somewhere will look at and say, like, how do we deal with this?